morning to you all and welcome to the Breakfast Club right here on Asake. My name is Fungai Mawada. Throughout the years, we've seen women take up political positions. Some have gone on to stop those political careers for different reasons. And of course, we have seen women being rubbished in media in terms of their political affiliation, in terms of their political careers. So to talk more about that, about how the media can enhance or degenerate a female's career when it comes to politics, I am joined in studio this morning by Tanaka Mrewa, who is a media practitioner at the Center for Innovation and Technology. Tanaka, good morning and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Fungai.
All right, so my first question to you, Tanaka, would be why do women in Zimbabwe shy away from politics?
Well, thank you for that question, Fungai. I think from the experience that I have seen throughout the years that I've been a reporter, I've realized that in most cases, women who are in politics, they tend to suffer from cyberbullying, they suffer from violence, and they're generally looked down upon. You know, the society kind of frowns upon women who want to involve themselves in politics because due to a number of reasons, some they will allege that they slip their way to the top. Some would say it's a space for women who are not married. It's a space for women who do not value themselves enough. You know, it kind of creates this image where they look at a woman and then they think, you know, politics is just not for women. If you are a woman and then you decide to go into politics, then they decide to start calling you all sorts of stuff. So maybe we can look at the issues where one Joanna Mamombe got arrested with her other friends, and also in a situation where Fatai Mahere was being dragged on social media. She was being accused of sleeping with so and so and all that. And we can also maybe take into cognizance the issue of Linda Masarira. You know, you just discover that the media on its own is not very kind to women who are in politics. And I think that is where we have to come in as women who are in the media, to make sure that at least we try and do something to make sure that at least we preach a different narrative about the women in media, and then we make them look the part that they're supposed to look. We help them to create the portfolios that they need, the profiles that they need. So I think basically that's that. It's just that the political sphere is not very kind to women, even when you look at it historically.
All right, and Zimbabwe is obviously heading for the 2023 elections, and we've already, like you've mentioned, Linda Msarira, you've mentioned Thokoza Kope as well, the Joannas of this world, who are all in different political spheres, but somehow they've all been slut-shamed in one way or another. What can we do as the media, as media practitioners, as journalists, as women in media particularly, to enhance the process for women when it comes to elections, particularly as we head towards the 2023 elections? What can we do as journalists, as media people, as media houses, to make sure that women come into this space feeling safe, feeling as though they don't have to be slut-shamed, or feeling as though they won't be called all of these names?
I think first and foremost, as media houses, we have to make sure that we have enough women who are on the political desk, because most of the times you find that it's usually our male counterparts who write politics mostly. So at the end of the day, you find that the way that they're going to report, it's not like a woman to woman, but a man to woman approach. And not that I'm saying our male counterparts cannot report adequately about women, but I feel like if enough women were to be given a chance to write about fellow women, then it might actually it might actually make a difference in the way in which their stories are told. For example, maybe we can also look at how women are written about. Most of the times, you find that when stories that go that don't really paint one in a good picture start circulating, that's the story that most people tend to run with. But then at the end of the day, they don't give those women enough platform to actually prove themselves to be who they are. So I think maybe if we can strategize to say, if you're going to write about a woman, you can start try and trace to say, how did her journey begin? You know, you start from there, the success stories that she has had, because most of them you'll find that they have done a lot for their communities, for the constituencies that they represent, but then all of their stories are not being told in a positive light. So I think if we give them a bigger platform for them to be able to talk about themselves, to talk about their journey, the struggles that they come across, you know, and we need to support them, you know, because most of the times from the women that we have interviewed who are in politics, one thing that they always talk about is how their male counterparts have got a financial muscle more than they do. So sometimes, you know, we just need to maybe do stories for them to say, okay, there is so and so who's trying to do a campaign in this particular constituency and they are looking for funds and stuff like that. We can do all those kind of stories for them. At least in a way, it would be helping to elevate them. Maybe people can read those stories, or maybe people can listen to it can be podcasts, it can be programs. At least people can be able to assist them in ways that they can be able to benefit from, instead of us as media people just focusing on stuff that is going to drag down women who are already in politics, because it's already hard for them as it is.
Yeah, true. Parliament, and people have argued often. I'm sure you've heard about the women's quota when it comes to parliament. And people have often argued that why should we just vote women into power without them working for those positions? What is your view when it comes to that? As a seasoned reporter, like you said, you've been a reporter for years and you've seen politics destroy and build up women all in a day. So what do you feel about that when it comes to elections?
I think women do actually have the ability to hold those positions. I think if they are given a fair ground, they can actually be able to put themselves out there and to build a name for themselves politically. So I think it's not fair, like what I was saying, that sometimes you just find that the media usually focuses on the negative more than the positive. But at least if you sit down with that particular person and you talk to them, you interview them, and you know, get to understand where they are coming from, how they started, the challenges that they have faced, how they managed to fight all that, you can actually you can actually find that there are a lot of untold stories about women who are in politics, you know. And the fact that it's not always easy for them, it actually becomes even more difficult if the media does not give them the platform for them to do that. So I think maybe you can even go out there and try to find out from other women who are not in politics. You know, it can be women in business, it can be women who stay at home, it can be women from anywhere. You know, you just try and talk to them and ask them who their inspirations are in terms of women in politics, and you'll actually find that there is more that they have done for their communities that the people are maybe that the media is not even aware of, or what other people are not aware of. So at least if you try and balance, you know, you talk to the people about them, talk to fellow women about women in politics, and you also talk to women in politics to find out what they have done for their communities. You know, you try and focus on the positive stuff that they have done, you know, the success stories that they have done. You know, there's a lot that they do for our communities, but I think that it's just that we don't give them enough platform for them to get to where they want to be.
Okay, we're headed towards the 2023 elections, and it's no secret that a lot of young people have not registered to vote. A lot of young people are really not interested in elections or politics, and there's a lot of voter apathy when it comes to elections. What can we do? I think this is a two-part question as media practitioners to encourage young people to vote, and not only young people, but young women especially to vote, because women constitute over 50% of the population according to the census results that we got for this year. So how can we harness that as media practitioners to make sure that young people actually register to vote?
Well, I think the issue around voter apathy amongst young women or youths in general is not something that we started to see now. But then at the end of the day, the main question is, what is it that we are doing to try and curb them, to try and motivate them to actually come forward and participate. So you see, the electoral process is not just a once-off thing that you say just because there's been an announcement that there's going to be a voter registration blitz, and then you just start from nowhere. You start saying we expect the youth to come and vote. You actually have to start from somewhere, because there's the pre-electoral period, there's the electoral period, and then there's the post-electoral period. So I think we just need to come up with ways in which we can be able to reach out to the youth and to motivate them enough to actually come forward and participate in the electoral process. So maybe I'll give you an example of what we have done at site. There was a time when we were doing a Style Your Vote campaign, where we were encouraging people, first-time registrars, first-time voters, to actually go and register to vote. And they would be given a free hairdo or a free nail, manicure, pedicure, or they would be given a new phone. So in that way, we realized that there were a lot of young people. In as much as they are coming, you actually make use of those that would have come forward to say, okay, fine, but this is the main issue. You might be excited about getting all these incentives and all, but the main issue that you're talking about is you have to know that if you don't register to vote, your constituency could get delimited and all that. And I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done between media people and CSOs mostly, that they can work together and make sure that at least they try and make sure that the young people are aware of what is expected of them. So at least when you get them to register to vote, then after that, you don't have to just say, okay, fine, they've registered, and then it's a done deal. You still have to go back to them, those who they've registered, and say, okay, fine, you guys have already registered, but do you know the importance of you voting? Those educational sessions need to be ongoing all the time. And even after they have voted, the post-electoral period, you still have to go back to them and say, okay, fine, you guys, you voted so and so into power. And before that, you guys were mentioning that you wanted such improvements or developments within your communities. Has this person delivered any of these things? And as media people and working together with CSOs, I think we can work together and say, okay, fine, these are the issues that are there. We try and create platforms. Previously we were doing what we called election debate series, where we would go to communities. We work with CSOs that are around us, and then we do election debate series where we create an interface platform between the people who would have been voted into power and the electorate. At least that way there can be live dialogues to say, this is what we expect from you, and we just because we voted you into power, we expect you to deliver. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about us saying we want women to be in power, but for them to stay in power, they have to deliver the promises that they'll be making. And what creates that rift, what creates that apathy, is because the young people are realizing that in as much as the voting process has been going on and on, there hasn't been much that is being done to make sure that services are delivered. So at the end of the day, it kind of demotivates them. But at least if, as media organizations, we create that platform, we become a voice for the voiceless, to say, okay, you guys can come to us and we can be able to talk to these people on your behalf, or we can engage them on your behalf. Give us your questions, give us your concerns, and then we approach those people who would have been voted into power. I think it will, if there is that transparency, and then there is also that improvement of dialogue between, especially accountability. It would actually create a better space for them, and it would actually motivate them to not only to keep on participating, but to also encourage their friends to do the same.
Okay, absolutely interesting. And I just want to touch on that issue of incentives that you're talking about. Ruti, you had that thing where people could get their nails done and they want phones and the likes, and essentially bridging that beyond just elections. would you advise that for other people as they campaign, as they try to get young people to register to vote? Does that work?
I think it all depends on how you do it, because I remember just recently the councillor for Mdanini, he put out a call saying all the people who are going to register for the first time, they can go to him and then he can assist them to get driver's licenses. But now it has to go beyond that. In as much as he's impacting positively in the lives of those young people, his mandate is also to make sure that he delivers the services that that he would have promised to deliver. So at the end of the day, I think what creates apathy the most, or what makes people not be interested in participating in these voting processes, is because there are times people are always talking about how after the elections their councillors or their MPs, they just disappear. They're nowhere to be seen. But at least if they maintain that communication and they're accountable and they're transparent in everything that they're doing, and they're always in engagement with their electorate, then it would actually create a better relationship between the electorate and the people who have been voted into power. So I think it all boils down into saying, even if you say we are incentivizing these young people, what do you do after that? And in as much as you're incentivizing them, are you actually taking that opportunity to teach them the importance of saying this is why you need to vote? Maybe it's something that should be taken into consideration, to say maybe in as much as at high school there's the guidance and counseling sessions and all that, maybe there can be a session on civic education, where young people can be caught at a tender age and they get to learn about these processes while they're still growing up, such that at least by the time they get to 16 years, 18 years, they now understand their responsibility, because it's beyond just voting. It's a responsibility. It's a constitutional right that one has to exercise. So unless and until they see the importance in that, they cannot be expected to participate in it.
Wow, so many gems. Thank you so much, Tanaka Mrewa, for joining us today on the Breakfast Club. We wish you all the success, of course, in your career going forward, and hopefully we see you also campaigning in 2023. That would be amazing. And to you at home, thank you so much for joining us on the Breakfast Club. Please make sure you join us again tomorrow, same time, and don't forget to like and to follow us on all social media platforms, or at Site ZW on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, as well as on Twitter. From myself, Fungai Mawada, goodbye.